Angrezi, Sanskritam, Yataha, Asmakam Mula Bhasha, Samskrita Bhasha. Asmakam iti artaha, Manavanam, Devanam Bhasha, api Samskrita Bhasha. Yadi icha asti Samskritena pravachanam karishyami. Yadi icha asti. Icha nasti. Samskritam kim artam kim prayojanam. Moksha prapsyamahe. Samskrita vina moksha labhyate sarve. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kashtam ayam asti. Srimad Bhagavatam Samskrita Bhashayam Bhavati. Mahabharata Bhagavad Gita Samskrita Bhashayam. Sarve Vaidika Grantaha Prayaha Samskrita Bhashayam. Samskritam naiva prayoktavyaha anavashakam naiva shrotavyam ati ashcharyakaram bhavati. Ati ashcharyakaram bhavati. Okay. Mlecha Bhasha. Angala Bhasha. You want me to speak in English? Those who want Hindi. Okay, those who want English. It's a little more for Hindi than English. जो अंग्रेजी बिल्कुल नहीं समझते हैं हाथ दिखाइए बिल्कुल नहीं समझते हैं तो सब अंग्रेजी समझते हैं everyone knows English who doesn't know Hindi 1 2 3 that's all flip a coin English better okay I don't like to sit like this. Yeah. So, topic is what? Remembering Prabhupada? Prabhupada memories? Is that it? So, I came to India 1974 February. Our GBC chairman, I think he joined ISKCON after that. Just a little perspective. Even though he's a godbrother and he's senior in ashram. No disrespect intended. So, I came to Bombay. I had never seen Prabhupada. I had already gotten initiated by letter, by post. And that was very common. A lot of Prabhupada disciples. I'm sure there are some disciples that never saw Prabhupada, right? Just Vani, not Vapu. So, anyway, next day after I came, Prabhupada came to Bombay from Vrindavan. He was here. I found that out in New York. I flew from New York to, London, Paris, Rome, Beirut, Delhi, then Bombay. Same plane. Those were the days. Prabhupada came at the airport. We came to greet him. And he came to the Juhu land. At that time, there was no big temple. There was no guest house, etc. There were some apartment buildings. And in the middle of the apartment buildings, there was a garden. And that's where they had made a hut. And there were thousands of rats. It seemed like that. There were lots of rats. Very austere. Prasadam was terrible. I mean, really bad. really bad prasadam. And Prabhupada gave a lecture every day. And in the evening and after the lecture, he would push halava into everyone's hand. There was a plate, he would take some, push in your hand. I can't remember what the lectures were. I can't remember. You have to, look on the internet to find those lectures. That was like 14th of February for, I think it was 10 days. And then we went to Mayapur for the Gaur Purnima festival. Prabhupada came to Mayapur. I remember he gave lectures on Chaitanya Charitamrita. At that time, Adi Leela Volume 2 came out before Volume 1. It was published before Volume 1. So he was giving lectures from that. Mayapur was one building, Lotus building, that was not finished. The ground and the first were finished, second and third were unfinished. 400 devotees came, some will say 500, I remember 400. That's 50 years ago. 50. Where did 50 years go? Just like that. 74 to 2024. There was an announcement made, don't go outside of the compound. Don't go and visit any of the other temples. I don't know why they made such an announcement. I went outside the compound. 2 elderly Bengali gentlemen were walking and talking, and they called me over and they started talking with me. And then I saw senior devotees come out of the gate and bow down, and I was wondering, that was Prabhupada's godbrother Bhakti Daita Madhav Maharaj, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat. I didn't know. After that, we went in the train to come here. This temple didn't exist at that time. Construction was going on. Prabhupada was staying on the property. We were staying in the Fogla. But Western devotees called it Fogel, right? They can say Fogla. And opposite that, there was a 24-hour kirtan. I think that temple is called, Hanuman Tekri. And it was Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Sita Ram. So hearing this, Prabhupada in his lectures was saying, just, you have come to Vrindavan, try to understand Radha and Krishna. We still haven't understood 50 years later what is Radha and Krishna. Because it's beyond our understanding. Then here Prabhupada made an announcement that all devotees who came from abroad have to stay in India for 1 more month. So that everyone was shocked and surprised. 400 devotees, they had already made their bookings, but in those days you could change your flight reservation without charge. You could even change the name on the ticket, but we won't go into that because it was illegal. But it's 50 years old, so Hare Krishna. So he said 50%, half of the devotees will go back to Mayapur to study Varnashrama. And half of the devotees would go to Bombay. The sheriff of Bombay, I think it still exists. It's an honorary title. There is no office, there is no power, just to honor certain prominent citizens, they call them the sheriff, was left over from the British Raj. So whoever it was, I don't remember the name, he issued a letter that the kirtan at Juhu is a nuisance. So Prabhupada decided to do satyagraha. You know satyagraha? Civil disobedience. So he had 150 devotees do kirtan in the Juhu area. At that time it was houses. Now the houses, 25% are still there. The rest have become apartment buildings. So we used to go and do kirtan. The prasadam again in Juhu was terrible. But we went to Sethi Ji, Punjabi Sethi. What was his name? P.L. Sethi. Nobody knows till today what is P.L. Must be Purushottam Lal or something. P.L. Sethi was from Amritsar, and he had a building construction business. And he was a big supporter of the ISKCON Juhu temple and very friendly with Prabhupada. He invited all of us for prasad. And I mean, the difference between what we were taking in the temple and at Sethi's house was day and night. Fantastic prasad he fed everyone. And Prabhupada, I remember, said, Sethi Ji is the ideal householder. I remember that. That's all I remember. Sethi is the ideal householder. He praised him. That's how you encourage somebody, by praising him. Very nice. Prabhupada encouraged devotees. I was actually, I wasn't supposed to be in Bombay. I was supposed to be in Mayapur, but I was able to, finagle, as we say. I don't know if this word is not used in Indian English. I was able to adjust and go to Bombay instead of going to Mayapur. My name was in the list for Mayapur. So after Bombay, I came to Hyderabad. I was going to travel with Achyutananda, then Swami. I said then Swami, not ex-Swami, then Swami. So he put me in the train without a reservation. In unreserved I came. That was a lesson. And reached Hyderabad. Prabhupada came to Hyderabad. I didn't know. 5 days public program. Lectures. There were like 5,000 people coming every day. From Hyderabad, Prabhupada went to Tirupati. He flew and we went in a matador. Now, in perspective, it was very hot. There was no air conditioning. It was April 1974. Excuse me. We stopped to have idlis on the road. And who's from South India here? Nobody. But idli is now all India food, right? It was only in South, now everywhere. One idli, 10 paisa. 10 paisa. 2 years later, Gargamuni, he lives here, right? Somewhere in nearby. He came from Calcutta and he took us to the hotel. We never would eat in the hotel, but when we were traveling, and after 2 years in the Annapurna Hotel, 2 idlis were 3 rupees. I thought, my God, 3 rupees after 10 paisa. And those idlis were fantastic, really good idlis. So anyway, Prabhupada had the 5 days in Hyderabad and then Tirupati 3 days. What prasad they brought. Prabhupada did a full Shashtanga Dandavat to Balaji. They cut off the line. In those days, there was just one old line because later on they built all these, what are they called again? Anyway, in Hindi it's Pratiksha Kaksh. What is it? Waiting rooms. Queue complex. Queue complex. Instead of standing in the queue, you could sit down, shelter, fan, and it still exists. So, but at those days there was no queue complex. It was just 8-hour queue to see Balaji. Recently, I went to Kedarnath, and there was such a queue, like 4 or 5 hours queue. We didn't pay money to get in to see the deity, Shiva, Lord Shiva, Shankar. Anyway, they cut off the queue and they sent us. We didn't have to wait 8 hours. Prabhupada did the full Shashtanga Dandavat. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, nobody bows down in front of the deity. You know this? How many people know this? Only 1 or 2. But in the temples in South India, you're not supposed to bow down in front of the deity. It's the flag post, Dvajastambha. They bow down there. But anyway, Prabhupada, Gaudiya Vaishnav, he did a full Shashtanga Dandavat, and he said, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And he got up and he said, Balaji means Balkrishna. That was it. That's all. So he also later, Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't worship Balkrishna, but bow down. He bowed down. Oh. So that was 1974. And one other thing from 1974 means Prabhupada was here in Vrindavan and he became very ill. And we started 24-hour kirtan in Hyderabad. And, we didn't know if he would survive. As it was, 74, 75, 76, 77. So another, 74, 75, 3 more years. These were his last years. And I was very young. When I came to India in 74, I was still 18, about to turn 19. So I turned 19, then 20. 75. Before I actually turned 20, then Prabhupada came to Hyderabad. So we didn't go to Mayapur festival, 75. I was given some services. So one service was to arrange the train, 2 cars, 75 sleeper in each car. So 150 devotees came from Calcutta, Mayapur, to Hyderabad. It was a 2-day journey in the train. So in Mayapur, Calcutta, they were given prasad. And then what would they eat for 2 days? So Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, had an ashram in Rajamundry, in Andhra Pradesh. And we arranged with him to bring prasad to the train. And our temple president in Hyderabad didn't pay him for a long time. We had to pay 3,000 rupees, which was a lot of money, but you're feeding 150 devotees. So that payment was made later on. Anyway, so I arranged the train cars. Prabhupada came in the flight. 150 devotees did Nagar Sankirtan there in Hyderabad. That was a, big thing. Boy, again, 10,000 people came to Prabhupada's Pandal, you understand, tent program. Tent was only over the stage. Otherwise, it was in the open air. And there were question and answer. One man said, Krishna came in my house. Krishna helped my mother, this thing, that thing. Then Prabhupada said, if Krishna came, why are you bringing your family? This was the reply. Why your family is involved? So he rejected this, Krishna came and helped the family. What else did he say? Then what I remember most was, please don't give up your culture. Prabhupada requested the people, please don't give up your culture, which everyone is giving up, isn't it? Seems like that. What is culture then? Dress, food, behavior. These are the things that are taught in the childhood. And wholesale giving up what to do. So ours is a tough task. Prabhupada wanted this Vedic culture. I don't want to mention any names and I won't, but some godbrothers, they say that a dhoti is not required. Then why did Prabhupada teach his disciples to wear dhotis? Why the Western women saris? So this thing, when Prabhupada said, please don't give up your culture, I had this 49 years ago, but I still remember very clearly. He wanted to preserve in India and spread the Indian culture. I'm one Indian, he used to say. And I spread, this movement all over the world. And the movement was Indian culture. Please don't give up your culture. So there was a program with some government ministers that was organized. I think 6 ministers, because Hyderabad was the state capital. So state government ministers, not the central government ministers. So he was in the lecture, I remember him saying, Balaji's money should be used for Balaji. Now, you may be aware that Tirupati Balaji is the richest temple in India. They have thousands of crores of rupees in fixed deposits. When they make a crown for the deities, it's all diamonds, emeralds, ruby, real jewelry, real valuable gems. It's very famous. They call it the Vajra Kirita. Kirita is another word for mukut. Here they say mukut, or crown. Fantastic. You can go on the internet and see the pictures of those crowns that they put on Tirupati Balaji. Maybe you've seen them? Who's seen those pictures? That's just a few. Just a few. So, when Prabhupada came in 74, the endowments minister, Sagi Suryanarayan Raju, he was a king from a, king's family. In India, there were many kings, right? Small kings. So he personally came from Hyderabad to receive Prabhupada. And the kind of respect they showed Prabhupada, the kind of prasad that was brought was fantastic. Fantastic prasad. Tirupati is famous for the laddus, but they brought many different kinds of rice and all of that. Now, the remembrance is coming back slowly. So yeah, Balaji's money should be used for Balaji. So, there's allegations that the money is being taken away. I've heard those allegations for years. 40 years ago, after Prabhupada, there was a program in Tirupati, and we were walking in one lane, and one old, Vaishnav, Ramanuja Brahman called us into his house, and he was a retired principal of the college, Sanskrit, I think, as I recall. And he also made this allegation, the government's taking away money from the temple. But I don't know if that's true. But Prabhupada said like that, Balaji's money should be used for Balaji. So what does it mean? So besides making the nice crowns and the festivals they have there, I think the big festival is called the Brahmotsavam. That's Dasera, right? Dasera time, which was a few days ago, right? A couple weeks ago. Dasera, Ram Vijay Dashami. So those festivals, they sponsor, they have some books that they sponsor, book publications, but they could be doing a lot more because they have tremendous wealth. Unfortunately, the Hindus have been weak, unfortunately. And some people will say, well, that was due to 1,000 years of foreign rule in India. Because until 75 years ago, either the British were ruling, either the Muslims were ruling. So the Hindus. And then when India got independence, it didn't adopt Sanskrit as the national language. They adopted Hindi and English. Then Constitution of India was made by studying Western constitutions. Actually, England doesn't have a constitution. You know this? Did you know that? You didn't know that, huh? Many people don't know this. And who knew this? Right. England does not have a constitution. The United States and France have constitutions. And maybe some other European countries, but not England. Anyway, The Constitution of India, that it exists. It's the law of the land. But the real law of the land that Prabhupada mentioned in Gita 16.7 is the Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti. That, he said, is the law book for humanity. So when you say, please don't give up your culture, it means that the laws also for a society that were followed in Vedic times should be followed today. Prabhupada had that desire. He had that desire. But what to do? What can be done? Our movement is grown like anything, but still it's not a political force. Sometimes Prabhupada was hesitant. Don't get involved in politics. It's not a good game. But other times he encouraged, right? This Balavanta.
In God we trust.
Balavanta, yeah. He made a party, In God We Trust party. And Prabhupada encouraged that. Right. But then later on, Prabhupada said, no, don't continue with this. So he had different moods also. He had different moods. After Hyderabad program in 1975, we came here for the inauguration of this Krishna Balaram temple. So at that time, there was a very grand opening. Many leading members of society, Vrindavan society, including, sadhus from all different groups. Not only Vaishnav groups, but the Mayavadi groups. They came. Prabhupada invited them. Prabhuji mentioned Jasomati Nandan Prabhu, who's no longer with us. But Prabhupada had sent him to invite prominent spiritual, sannyasis and other leaders. And so one of them that came was Akhandananda Saraswati. Sat next to Prabhupada, there are pictures of them talking and laughing, and he was a Mayavadi. So how can we understand this? So in a social function, you want to, live with the other members of the society. Now, one thing I don't know means, how can I express this? Because Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta were very much opposed to the Advaita Vedanta of Adi Shankara. Same time, Prabhupada used to say Adi Shankaracharya, one of the acharyas, and he's an incarnation of Lord Shiva. So here's what I understand. We are cousins, right? What is the similarity between followers of Adi Shankara and Vaishnavas? Can anybody say? Tapasya? That's not incorrect, but that's not what I'm looking for. How are we connected? Are we connected through tapasya? Can't say no.
They also accept there is a difference between body and soul.
They accept the difference between body and soul.
And we also.
Don't the Buddhists and the Jains also feel that there's a difference between body and soul?
No, they have no super soul and soul.
They have no soul. Actually, they believe in a soul, but they believe it's temporary.
It's zero.
No, that's the ultimate aim, is to merge into nothing, shunya. But they believe in a body and soul are different.
Shankaracharya told that before nothing, they only Narayana was there.
Okay.
Vedic scriptures. What did he say?
Who said? Wait a minute. What?
Vedic scriptures.
Vedic scriptures. That was the answer I'm looking for. No, he answered it.
And the response was?
No. His answer was the answer I'm looking for. There may be many. Tapasya may be true.
He came to bring back to the Veda after a Buddha took it away.
Right.
He
Now,
was the Veda.
so the point is, we are cousins of the Mayavadis because we both accept Vedic literature, Vedic Shastras. Yeah, and this was a good point you made, that Adi Shankara drove out Buddhism from India and re-established the importance of the Vedas. We sing this Dasavatar Stotra every day, Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. But there's also Nindasi Yagna Videhe, Keshavadrita Buddha Sharira, right? Part of the Dasavatar Stotra. So Nindasi Yagna Videhe, Ninda means to condemn, right? To offend or condemn. Yagna Videhe, the process of Vedic sacrifice. So the Vedas were condemned by Buddha and later on the Jains also. But those who accept Vedas, the mantras of the Vedas, we have only one publication where we have Vedic mantras. What is that? Sri Ishopanishad, correct answer. So those mantras are the same. You may wear this tilak, you may wear that tilak. There are many different tilaks, right? There's books about all the tilaks. There are court cases about the tilaks. You know about that, right? No? In Tamil Nadu, right? There have been fights, probably even physical violence because of tilak. Unfortunately. So, whatever tilak you put, but if you accept the Vedas as the source of knowledge, then it's one family. Now, how we worship is different. The Mayavadis worship Lord Shiva, mostly. And we worship Radha and Krishna, Jagannath, Sitaram, whatever. Vishnu, Krishna. So that worship is different. But the source of all the culture and the knowledge are Veda mantras. So, maybe later on in Bombay, after Prabhupada passed away, there was a world conference for the synthesis of science and religion in 1986. And the Dalai Lama was called to inaugurate that. Generally, we don't call Buddhists to our functions. He's a head of the government, according to, you know that? Government of India recognizes him as the political leader of Tibet. So he's given special status by the government of India. That's a long time ago, and he's still alive. He's, 90 years old now, I think, something like that, close to. So, Prabhupada sat with Akhandananda. You've heard of Akhandananda ashram here? It's not so prominent now. It used to be very prominent. And Akhandananda, in his Grihastha ashram, translated Srimad Bhagavatam from Sanskrit into Hindi. And that is the Gita Press Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, it's an interesting thing that many ISKCON devotees wouldn't know. Indian devotees have seen the Gita Press Bhagavatam, many Indian devotees. So he was a brilliant scholar. And there are many brilliant Vedic scholars among the Mayavadis. We admire them, but we don't agree with their siddhanta, the ultimate understanding. There's, Samshaya, Vishaya, Purva, Paksha, and Siddhanta. There are 4 ways of understanding truth. There's a doubt, Samshaya, Vishaya is the subject matter, Samshaya, a doubt, then the wrong conclusion, and then the proper conclusion. So anyway, the opening of Krishna Balaram temple, you had prominent figures from Vrindavan. They might have been followers of Shankaracharya, caste Goswamis. At that time, Vishwambar Goswami. Who heard of the name Vishwambar Goswami?
I know him.
You met him personally?
Yes.
You're talking about Padmanabh Goswami. Vishwambar, his father.
Yes.
He was the mayor of Vrindavan at one time. And he was from the Radharaman caste Goswami family. So he came. He was friendly. Prabhupada had a friendly relation with him. So, there are pictures of the opening of the temple here. They don't have them posted, do they? Is there in the museum? Are those pictures there? Pardon my ignorance. No. If you go to Hyderabad temple, the small pictures are there of the opening of the temple. I was there. I'm in some of the pictures. But the pictures here, they should have that someplace, someday, maybe, hopefully, that will happen. Pictures of the opening of the temple here. It was a grand function. I remember seeing Prabhupada on a bicycle rickshaw. Right? After the procession, he came back on a bicycle rickshaw. There was a procession with elephants. What happened to the elephants? We used to see them all the time, elephants, right? Moving, and you went on Padayatra. Did you see elephants in villages? Not much?
Rare, very rare.
There used to be elephants, and sadhus used to have these elephants and collect money, with the elephants. There would be temples where the elephants would take rest, and if there was a function in the city, they would call them from those ashrams. They've eliminated animals, I remember coming, every time I came to Mathura station to visit Vrindavan, we would get in a horse cart, the tanga. It would take 45 minutes in a tanga. Now you come in a car, it takes the same time. Okay, it takes the same time. Unless it's, very early in the morning or the middle. Progress. But the relationship between animals and human beings is being destroyed by all the machines. When Prabhupada disappeared, we drove in the car. We were in Hyderabad. We weren't here. And 30 hours driving, four of us in an ambassador car. The petrol was, 3.5, 4 rupees a liter. And hundreds and hundreds of bullock carts, moving all night. The drivers would go to sleep and the bulls would be, slowly moving. Mainly cotton would go to the market in these bullock carts. So how India changed in all these, it's a long time. It's 48 years now, right? So we're going to be observing Prabhupada's disappearance tomorrow. So that was a very big hallmark in Prabhupada's life, was opening this temple. In fact, this was this temple in Hyderabad. Those were the 2 temples he opened. Mayapur there wasn't any grand function. And the big temple that's coming up now, 1,000 crore temple, started when? 2009, 2010. Much after Prabhupada's lifetime. So opening of this temple was a very big function. Very big function. Quite a few devotees, I don't know the figures, how many disciples of Prabhupada. There's a picture taken in front of the temple. You might have seen that picture. And anyway, it was what it was. Historical achievement. And after the opening of the temple, I think Prabhupada started traveling again internationally. And we didn't see him again in 1975. But end of 75, 1st and 2nd January 1976, Prabhupada came to Madras, which is now Chennai. He had 2-day program there, and then Nellore in Andhra Pradesh. Nellore is 3 hours in the train north of Madras, north of Chennai. And Prabhupada had a program there 5 days. 2 days in Chennai, such a big city. And ISKCON had a tiny center at that time, which closed and then again opened. But in this small Nellore, Prabhupada spent 5 days. Now, why did he come to Nellore? 2 ladies promised 3 acres of land for a center. So Prabhupada came to install the cornerstone for the temple. So he stayed in the house of these ladies. One was a widow and one had never married. They were sisters. And their brother was a very famous, richest guy in the town. They're from this Reddy community. So how many of you have heard this name Reddy? Lot of people. So Reddy means a farmer. Land, someone who owns land. For the foreign devotees here, and for the Indian devotees, they should know this. If the family tradition has the sacred thread, then it's Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya. And if the family tradition doesn't have the sacred thread, they may be rich, they may be landlords, they're Shudras by caste. Of course, we are Malechas and Yavanas, we know that. We are lower than Shudras. But the Reddy community, they don't have that. Yagnopavid. Most of the farmers in India, whether they're landless or landed, what happened to the landless farmers, the farmers who didn't own land but were employed as labor? They're the ones that went to Fiji, Mauritius, and the West Indies. In India, it's called the West Indies, and the United States, it's called the Caribbean, right? Suriname and Guyana, they're all in, and Trinidad. There are a lot of Hindus, some Muslims, but came from India. They were poor. They were actually slaves. They were slaves. And they were taken, they're called indentured labor. So it was like slavery, equal to slavery. And eventually, now slavery has been abolished mostly. Maybe there's a couple places in the world it exists, where but public opinion is against it. Anyway, so these two sisters, they had one condition for giving the land. And actually, this was conveyed in a letter to Prabhupada, but in the letter he said, take the land. But when he came there, he said, we won't accept this condition. So the condition was, if the temple was not built in 3 years, then the land would go to the Ramakrishna mission. This is a true story. It's a true story. So why Prabhupada said by letter, take it, and then when he came there, I can only speculate. Maybe he thought he could persuade them. If they saw the program, they saw the foreign, there was like 20 Western devotees. There were Indian devotees at that time also. But whatever it was, these women, they didn't agree. And even after the 5-day program, they said, no, we can't remove this condition. So in the long run, even in immediately, no center was ever established at that time. Now there's a center. Sukadev Maharaj, if you know him, he's a one-man show. Well, he's got 1 or 2 helpers. Big center he built there. Prabhupada went every day for a morning walk. So when he was leaving the house, he saw in a cage that there were these chickens, but not ordinary chickens. They're bigger sized chickens. They're called Chinese hens. So seeing this, Prabhupada told us on the morning walk, he said, in Bengal, people take the eggs of these chickens, boil them, and mix it with rice and eat it. He said, this chicken house, he meant the chicken house, this is a sign that these people are not vegetarian. Well, the Reddy community is, 99.9% non-veg. So there are some exceptions. Anyway, Prabhupada said, from today you have to cook for me. He couldn't accept the food cooked by those sisters in their house. So that's something interesting. When Prabhupada went to Tehran, he told the devotees there, eat anywhere but preach. Right? Eat vegetarian food. Don't eat non-veg, but He didn't have a restriction, go to the home, don't eat in the home of someone who's non-veg. I know a god brother, he used to eat his mother's cooking. I never ate, after becoming a devotee, I never ate what my mother cooked. So somebody may say, well, that's offensive to your mother. I mean, my mother wasn't vegetarian until she spent her last days with us, a month and a half. Then she became vegetarian. Otherwise, she wasn't veg. And most of our Western devotees, they have this experience. So in India, Prabhupada had said, don't eat in the home of non-veg people. You can have fruit and milk. He said like that. Only fruit and milk in the home of a non-vegetarian. So sometimes, when you go for collecting donations, enrolling life members, the people are not veg. They're not vegetarian. So you should only take fruit and milk. You shouldn't eat in their house. This is from Prabhupada. So these Prabhupada had the 5 days in Nellore, and then he left. Then this was 76. We went to Mayapur. Prabhupada was in Mayapur. By this time, the big long building had been built. What is it? The Chakra Bhavan. Chakra building. And the Lotus building was there. And the temple was in the Lotus building. Right? Remember? Originally, temple was in the Lotus building. Later on, they built this extension. And then later on, they built the Shankha Bhavan, Conch building. But in 75, 76, there was just the Lotus and the Chakra. That was it. And we were sitting with Prabhupada. And somebody was arguing. Prabhupada would meet members of the public. Oh, I forgot to mention that 1974. Same thing. In Bombay, I slipped my mind when I was talking about Bombay. But anyway, we're in Mayapur. People are gathered to, general public, hearing Prabhupada. So he used to meet from 4 to 6 for 2 hours, or 4 to 5, I can't remember exactly. Anyway, somebody was arguing with Prabhupada. And I remember I boldly spoke up. And I said, if you want to hear from Prabhupada, you should be submissive and hear, and not challenge him. And Prabhupada didn't chastise me, why are you speaking like that? He continued talking. So I was a little bold at that time. So after Mayapur, next time I saw Prabhupada, Mayapur 76, Bombay, in August 76. So, long story, we had, now you can show a video on a tablet, right? Before the tablet, there was the laptop. And before the laptop, what was there? In the 1970s, there was a briefcase projector. You ever heard of that? 8 mm. Only people with white hair. There was a company called Fairchild in the United States. And they made a carrying briefcase, and you would pop up a little screen, and there was a cassette. Big cassette you would push in, and it would show the movie. So at that time, Yadubara Prabhu, he's still around, he's 80 now. So he had made a movie, The Spiritual Frontier. Who's seen that movie? Spiritual Frontier. 1, 2, 3. That's it? Well, guess what? You can watch it on YouTube. It's a 40-minute movie about New Vrindavan. And it's narrated by, Kirtanananda. So in that movie, Kirtanananda says, Prabhupada wanted us to depend on nature's beauty and the cows. So anyway, Prabhupada was entertaining 3 very important guests from wealthy families. One was Gopi Kumari Birla. That was Ashok Birla's mother. And Brij Ratan Mota's wife was R.D. Birla's daughter. So 2 Birlas and K.J. Somaya Vidya Vihar in Bombay. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of that. It's a modern educational institution. Somayas are, I think they're either the Lohana caste or they're Bhatia. I think the Lohana caste. They're Kshatriyas who became Vaishyas. So anyway, these were very super wealthy people. And he had invited them for lunch. Giriraj Maharaj might have invited them or whatever.
Where?
In Juhu. This was in Juhu. This was August 76 in Juhu. So I said, Prabhupada, I have this briefcase projector. Do you want to show them the movie? And he said, yes. So I brought it and we showed them. It's a 40-minute movie, Spiritual Frontier. You can watch it on YouTube if you want. Still there. So after that, there was lunch. And, everybody was cooking devotees to feed these 3 people only. Prabhupada didn't eat. He squatted. You know this squat. He squatted on his knees and was directing the service. I mean, it was amazing to watch this. He was 81 years old at that, 80 completed. And he was making sure, give them more. So this is how he taught his disciples also to cultivate, what is it? Bhungte bhojayate. This is Upadeshamrita, nectar of instruction. Feed them, and they will reciprocate. Bhungte, eat, and bhojayate, to feed them. Sad vidham priti lakshanam. These are actually in classical Sanskrit literature. It's mentioned priti, dearness, endearment. How to become friendly by feeding people, prasad. And that's a hallmark of ISKCON, is to distribute prasad, right? So Prabhupada personally showed how that's done. So it was very interesting to see that. How he cultivated later on, end of 76. I don't have a lot of time left, so I'll just skip around. But end of 76, there was a program in Maharashtra, Wardha, near Nagpur, Gandhi's ashram. And Acharya Vinoba Bhave, only you have to have gray hair. Again, to hear the name Acharya Vinoba Bhave, you say it today, nobody knows who he was. Only old people like us. So he was a Gandhian, a direct associate of Gandhiji, right? And he was involved in Bhutan. He took the words right out of my mouth. Bhutan, donate your land. So what it was a socialist type of a movement. There were landlords who owned, thousands of acres of land. They were called zemindar. Well, zemin is Urdu. It comes from either Arabic or Persian, which means land. Zemindar, one who owned a lot of land. Bhudan, Bhu means earth. Dan, giveaway. So they were these leaders of the Congress party and politicians and reformers. They wanted the rich land, the people who had thousands of acres, give the poor farmer the land. And finally what happened? They made laws taking away the land from the rich and giving it to the poor. That has not been done in Pakistan. You know that? They didn't do that. Only India did that. Anyway, So Prabhupada, there was an Acharyas conference. And the teachers are Acharyas. You know Leela Purushottam Prabhu, right? How many people heard of Leela Purushottam Prabhu? Oh, less than half. So he's the director of our school in Ajai, right? 15 kilometers from here. He's the director of IIT Mandi. And all of his followers, they call him Sir. Says, why are you calling him Sir? Call him Guruji. Every teacher in every village in India is called Guruji. Yeah, right? Am I right or am I right? Every teacher is called Guruji. How did I remember this?
Conference.
Right. Acharya's conference. Thank you. Getting old. So, these teachers came, the Acharyas, the Gurus, and Swami Chidananda, another Mayavadi, another Adi Shankarite. And Prabhupada was showing pictures to Vinoba Bhave. He had some argument with Chidananda in the car, but I wasn't there. But when we were all gathered around when Prabhupada showed pictures, it's like, we go to enroll life members here, so you have an appointment to meet some businessman and you show pictures. This is our activities. So Prabhupada was showing these pictures and Vinoba Bhave in Hindi. He had a very high-pitched voice. Bahut acha kaam kar rahe. You're doing very good work, he said. I mean, trying to imitate, but a little difficult. So, yeah, Prabhupada, why did I remember this? No, before that. I said something, Acharya's conference. Land, Bhutan. No, Acharya Vinoba Bhave was Bhutan, but some other reason why I remembered the whole visit at the end of 76. And the morning walk, I said, Srila Prabhupada, Mahatma Gandhi. And he immediately cut me off. He said, don't criticize Gandhi here. I didn't criticize Gandhi. I was asking a question, but he wouldn't let me finish. Don't criticize Gandhi here. This is his place. They won't understand. So that's interesting. We accepted Gandhi's economic outlook. Village industries, simple living. Gandhi lived very simply. But his philosophical outlook, we are totally opposed. And Gandhi wrote in his book, if Ram and Krishna actually existed, I would cease to call myself a Hindu. This is a quote from Gandhi.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't. Prabhupada didn't have good words for Gandhi's philosophy of, spiritual philosophy, let's call it like that. But his economic policy, village life, Prabhupada was 100% in agreement. Prabhupada said the ideal system of life is the Indian village system. There you go. Unfortunately, we're all now... unfortunately, Vrindavan is a big city. Sorry to have to say that. What it was 50 years ago, and you can imagine, Prabhupada took sannyas how many years ago? Was that 65? 65 years ago. 1959 is 65 years ago. So what was Vrindavan? Was a small, it was like a village. It was a little bigger than a village, obviously. Small town. And now it's like, the Kumbh Mela last 2 days. How many people were around the road here? Yeah, it's like Kumbh Mela, just hordes and hordes of people. Time is up, I guess. Is that it?
Yes.
Who's running the show here? Anybody? Krishna. Krishna and Balaram, they're running the show. Are there any questions? Because Prabhuji didn't get time. So you could ask questions to both of us, giving him some time also. But yeah.
I want to ask more about this Varnashrama and village life, what Prabhupada's thinking and vision was.
So what you have to do, there are some books. Bhakti Raghava Maharaj is very, Varnashram and make Vrindavan villages. But, if you go through, you have to do a search. You can do it online, or there's an offline Veda base, and you just look Varnashram and you'll find lots of, references to Prabhupada from his lectures, conversations, purports. One of the best purports is 9:10:50 in the Bhagavatam. 9th canto, chapter 10, text 50. In the purport, he says we must follow Varnashram. Very clear that in order to have a perfect society. So Varnashram, he had a broad vision that in India, Varnashram was already there. It's just like, Janava Devi was a guru, right? But she didn't give Yagnopavit Sanskar because in Varnashram, the ladies, they don't get Yagnopavit Sanskar. So what is guru? And Shiksha guru. And Diksha is Yagnopavit Sanskar. Western leaders of ISKCON couldn't understand that. At least some of them. I understand that. And Varnashram was Prabhupada describes in the purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita his own community. The Varnashram had split India into different communities. Now, the purpose of dividing society, Prabhupada called it. The purpose was not to create fights. It's a body. The arms help the legs. The arms help the stomach. The arms put the food in the mouth. And the head guides the body. And it's a social function. It wasn't meant that we should fight with each other. But Kali Yuga means fighting. Everybody's fighting. What to do? It's Kali Yuga. It's the age of quarrel and confusion. But to dispel the confusion, Varnashram means how the society should run and the guiding principles. So there should be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Now we don't see the Kshatriyas to protect the Vedic culture because
it's education and Gurukul.
Well, Gurukul is meant for Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya, not for Shudra.
The Vedic Gurukul is
that's a hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. In end of December 76, Prabhupada came from Vrindavan to Hyderabad. And one boy from the school he brought with him because that boy was not studying in the school. So he said, let him work on the farm. He's a Shudra. He can't study. He cannot study in the school, so he should work on the farm. In Hyderabad, there was this 565-acre farm was donated. Medchal farm. It still exists. Dabilpur is... Badruka donated. He passed away 2 years ago at the age of 91. He grabbed the land back after Prabhupada disappeared. But Prabhupada had high hopes. And some things are going on. Farm communities he wanted. Shivaram Swami has a good farm community. We visited 12 years ago for 2 nights, 2 days. So there are several farm communities. Whether they're officially ISKCON or not is another story. But the leaders of ISKCON, with the exception of Shivaram Swami and a few others, haven't really given emphasis on the farm communities, and Prabhupada did give emphasis on farm communities. He wanted, these farm communities to flourish. So they were the Varnashram communities. That's why the Spiritual Frontier movie, Prabhupada is not in the movie. He saw the movie more than once. When I showed it was the second time I heard. He had already seen it before. But he endorsed that during his lifetime. That there should be, New Vrindavan was supposed to be a farm community, not a tourist spot, which it has become. Gita Nagari. Nagari. Nagar. Don't mind me. Yeah, Prabhupada went there also. He wanted that to be another village. So there are some places in different countries. Brazil, I think, has some communities. I know India has some. And there was some devotees in Russia and Ukraine they wanted to have. It's a little cold over there, but what to do? They get one crop. Here there are places you get 3 crops. Bengal being one of the, so much water, it's very fertile land, you can grow 3 crops a year. Mostly India, 2 crops. And cold climates, 1 crop. So yeah, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras. Gurukul means Brahmin. But what is the syllabus? We've had a hybrid syllabus. But if you read Bhagavatam 10:45, for Gurukul syllabus, Patyakram, right? Syllabus 10:45, 33, 34, 35, 36. What Krishna and Balaram studied in Avanti with Sandipani is written there. That should be the subject matter for Brahmins. I say it because Krishna himself set the example. Well, nobody's kicking us out of the room. So if there are any other questions. Yeah. Good question. Thank you. No? Any question for Sri Dam Prabhu? I apologize I wasn't present for his speech. Yes.
You speak such brilliant Sanskrit.
No, I speak very simple Sanskrit. The brilliant Sanskrit, I can introduce you to the people.
What? I'm sorry for my ignorance. What is your origin?
Yeah, I'm from USA, Chicago. My ancestors are from Europe. My grandmothers were born in Chicago. My grandfathers were born in Europe. They came across, between 1900 and 1920. I think my father's father came in 1920. So that's more than 100 years ago now. So they were not religious people, actually. Their ancestors were religious people, but my family was secular. So, we had more influence by TV and school, rather than by our family traditions. And that's a case with many Westerners, but not all. Some were very influenced by their family traditions. Well, you're talking about those who joined ISKCON or just the ordinary people? Modern society in big cities has become secular life, sense enjoyment. But Malechas and Yavanas like us, they're already drinking alcohol and eating non-veg food. So they don't have much of a claim of, very lofty lineage as such. Some of the things of Vedic culture were left over, kings. But then kings are just ceremonious now in Europe. They don't have any power. And, Prabhupada used to say, you have Queen Elizabeth, but in India, no woman could become, the head of the state. He said that. Now there's the king. Elizabeth, is gone, and her son is the king. But he has no political power. Ceremonial. So these things originally came from Vedic culture. But Prabhupada had said the Europeans are the Kshatriyas that Parashuram drove out of India, their descendants. So 5,000 years ago, the whole world was Mahabharata. So yeah, I'm European, you can say. By, what is it? Descent. By descent. We can't claim to be Hindu or Vedic. Yes?
Can you guide us how this Mahabharata the Bharat came into pieces.
Right? It's even Gandhi was against the division of India at the time of freedom from British rule. Gandhi didn't want India to be Pakistan and Hindustan.
I'm talking the whole world.
Yeah, well, there were kings, and then those kings were driven out by Parashuram, and they became, what do they call it? What's the word in English? They became tribal type of society. They degraded, Like Africa is a tribal society. And the Europeans, they had a tribal society.
You mean the central rule was not strong? The central rule, Bharat, central rule was not strong?
Yeah, after the Pandavas, then slowly degradation, right? Kali Yuga means slow degradation and disappearance of Vedic culture. The Kshatriyas kept the Vedic culture strong.
Chhatrapati Shivaji Prabhupada said was the last Maharati 400 years back with Tukaram and Ramdas. He was the last Maharati. Huh?
Well, for sure, he was a follower of Vedic culture.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a follower.
He reestablished it 400 years ago.
Time is over. Srila Prabhupada ki. Personally, you can ask some question like that. Who's recording?